Hey VC, it's Ron. Thanks for stopping by. Hope everybody's doing well. Well, here we are at the end of another year. Can you believe it? Seems like just 1 year ago I was saying those very words. Wow. But anyway, I hope everybody's getting ready for Christmas. I still got a little bit of shopping to do, but I'm almost done. So yeah, I got a nice little pile to show today. And that little opening bit we saw at the beginning of my video, that was actually a shout out. And it's for the channel Psychedelic Snow. You know, you saw the word psychedelic and you saw the little flakes dropping in front of the album cover. Pretty clever, huh? So hey, and speaking of clever, there's another channel I want to mention, and that's Trevor the Clever. And he is mighty clever. I gotta hand it to him. And his thumbnail is this album cover. So, check those guys out. They're both fairly new. They're both psych-based channels. And if you don't know them already, and you should, check them out. Okay. Let's get going with what's on the turntable right now real quick so you're not shrouded in mystery. And it's Almond Duel 2. And the name of the album is Carnival in Babylon. And this is a recent find that I just made. This is a hard to find US copy. Any Almond Duel US pressings are not easy to find, especially their early stuff. So yeah, this is from 1972 and I'm just really glad to grab it. And so very cool album. There's some lame ass reviews on it online by professional reviewers, but if you read the reviews by the fans, they praise it. So I like it. It's definitely different. It's kind of a missing link type of thing where they're in a transitional experimental period. It's sort of folky with some heavy rock mixed in, but male-female vocal, but excellent krautrock. This band is highly revered for the genre, so check out Almond Duel 2. There's also an Almond Duel, but that's totally a different band, and but this is the band that's the best, Almond Duel 2. Now, this one is an album that I found out on Psychedelic Snow's channel. I found out about this album, and he was playing it, and I thought it was just really killer. So I went out and I scored a copy. It's Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats, Volume 1. And this is a US copy. It's on purple vinyl, and it comes with an insert booklet, this is like really heavy acid rock type stuff, like the opening track, Crystal Spiders, reminded me a lot of early Black Sabbath. It's not all real heavy riffage like that one, but this is just a really good album. And originally it was put out on a CDR, kind of a local do-it-yourself type of thing that the band did. And they only made 30 original CDRs of this album. And so later on he decided it was time to do a good quality remastering job on it as best as possible, because it was sort of a homemade sound, kind of raw. So don't expect top quality studio sound on this album. I mean, it's still extremely enjoyable, but the sound is not top notch. So that is just a really excellent album to get. And they've only got like a small handful of albums, so I definitely want to look into their other stuff. This next one is Dukes of the Stratosphere Sonic Sunspot, and this is the full-length album. Now when this one came out in '87, I did not buy it. I did have their first mini LP, 25 O'Clock, and actually that one is better than this one. This one I think is good, but it's extremely pop psych. A lot of it's kind of got that Hollies pop psych sound, but really good anyway. I wish it would have been a little bit more of a spacey Pink Floyd sound on some of it. I think it would be more liked if they had done that, but still very cool. It's on the Geffen label. And the original, the UK copies had a nice gatefold and custom labels, and of course we didn't get that in the US. And that's actually the band XTC in Incognito. This next one is a soundtrack, The Wild Angels, and this is a clean original copy that I picked up on the Tower label, the famous Tower label that everybody loves. I would have been nice to have found a mono because this is duophonic. And duophonic is basically Capitol's fancy word for rechanneled stereo. So that's what this is. It doesn't sound bad, but I would have liked to have found a nice clean mono copy. But I'm just glad to have found a clean copy, period, because a lot of times when you do see this record, it's rough, on the rough side of things. So yeah, I've actually seen this movie. It's pretty cool. It's from '67. Peter Fonda, Nancy Sinatra, Bruce Dern is also in it. It's a Roger Corman film. Soundtrack was done by the Arrows. Really cool fuzz rockers, instrumentals. So yeah, cool one to check out. Oh, on the bottom it says, this recording should be played only with stereo cartridge and stylus. Now that's because in the more early '60s, if you had a mono cartridge and mono needle, and you played a stereo record on it, it wouldn't pick up all the channels. The music would be incomplete. So I remember when I was a kid we had one of those, and my mom always had to buy mono albums. And then later on that was corrected. And this is an example of that album, of that process right here. And it's the third album by Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart. It's Happening on the Inside. This one I believe is from 1969. It's the third and final album. And overall it's disappointing. Side one is really good. It's that Boyce and Hart song selection that you would expect. I think side one is a lot weaker and just not as good to listen to. But this is a white label promo copy, and it's stereo on the A&M label. And on the front there's a sticker, and it says, this disc employs the this disc employs the CSG process and may be played either on stereo or mono. So it got to the point where the technology changed where you could actually play a stereo record on a mono record player and it wouldn't affect the sound. So pretty cool. And on the back it's got a sticker from Judy's Music Shop, and I'm not sure, I think I looked up where that was, I'm not sure, but I don't remember. But the area code is 520. I got an original first album by the Free Design, Kite Surf. I did have a record store day release of this, and I come across this original, so it was nicely priced and clean shape, so I grabbed it. And I would say I compared the reissue to the original, and of course the original sounded better. Not drastically better, but I could tell a difference in the sound. It just had more meat on the bone, it had more oomph. So yeah, just another example of sometimes it's best to get the original album. This next one is a Sunday's release. It's H.P. Lovecraft Live, and it's live 1968. Picked this up used, and this is just excellent. I mean, for a 1960s concert recording, you really can't ask for anything much better than this as far as quality. And the band was red hot. There's a lot of different arrangements on this album compared to the studio versions. So if you're a fan of this band, I would say get this. It's a nice compliment to their other albums for sure. This one I just picked up, and it's the first album by Focus, In and Out of Focus, and it has a unique cover compared to what Europe got. It's kind of textured on the front, the back is slick. This album was recorded in 1970, and it was released in the US in early 1971. And it's on the Sire London label. And a pretty clean copy. I got a nice deal on it, so pretty happy about it. And I really like this album. In fact, this is the only Focus album to feature all the original band members. So in Europe it was called a different title. I can't remember what it was. And it had a totally different cover, nothing like this one. But I like this album cover, it's pretty cool. I like what they did to that photo with the swirl. Yeah, it's cool. It's a very good album too, I like it. Then I picked this one up out of a thrift store, and I've had it before, but it's Focus Moving Waves. And this is a pretty good album. This is the one that's got the big hit Hocus Pocus on it. Now I have a Hocus Pocus 45, and if you can find a copy of the original 45, that is a much earlier version. It's got part 1 on side A and part 2 on the B side of the 45. It's a much earlier version. They re-recorded it for this album. So that's something to keep in mind if you're out ever searching the bins and come across one. Okay, then I got an album that I used to have back in the 80s, and I dumped it for whatever reason, I don't remember. I probably wasn't real happy with it at the time because of the sound, but I can appreciate it more now because of what it is. And it's the album by Index. And this is the 1984 Vox official reissue. This is the first reissue of the album. And it has been reissued with the original cover. This is not the original artwork on this cover. So it has been reissued, but those could be unauthorized. This one is authorized. So yeah, I did not know. It's got some liner notes, but they're kind of vague. And up at the top, it says, you can't read it on camera, but it says the Index is an exciting new group with their own distinct sound. So that kind of tricked me into thinking that this was an 80s band, because I didn't know anything about this group. So yeah, it doesn't say that they were out of Detroit, Michigan, You know, it doesn't say that, you know, it's an reissue of a rare album. It says something about some lost tapes, is all it says. It does picture artwork for the original album cover in pink, but originally it was in black. So it's kind of vague. So yeah, it kind of tricked me back in the day. So it's on box. This is a near mint copy that I got. So I did some trade for it because it was a bit pricey. So glad to get that. Here's another one on box, and it's the Tongues of Truth, and they were known for doing the original version of Let's Talk About Girls. And they were a Tucson, Arizona band, and this is a Vox release from 83. So this is a nice minty copy that I got. And originally, before the Tongues of Truth, they were known as the Grodes. Just a really excellent garage band. Quality. I'm surprised that they didn't have some major label hits, because their songwriting was just excellent. So cool one to get. I'm glad I found that. Here's another Tucson band, and it's the Powells. This is their only album from 1987, and this is sort of heavy punk with a garage sound to it. That it's kind of retro, but it's not. It's definitely not 60s. It's probably more of a 70s garage punk sound. And it's on Estrus label. They were a Northwest label. So some copies are on red vinyl. This one's black. And 1987 release. They had a handful of, a lot of 45s. They had a 10-inch, but this is their only album. Then the last one I'm going to show is an original first pressing of the Byrds, Mr. Tambourine Man. And back in the 80s, I had a pretty nice copy of this, and like a fool, I traded it off. And then later on, I found out how rare they are. So yeah, here it is, like 30 years later, and I get another one, but it's kind of VG, on the VG side of things, unfortunately. I mean, it's not whipped, but it's definitely not super clean. And this is the label. It's got the black stereo 360 sound label. And I double checked on Discogs, and this is definitely the first pressing. So these were pretty limited, not easy to find, clean. There's a bunch of them on Discogs, but they're all sort of mainly in the VG range. So just as a filler copy to have it, I mean, I think there's a white label promo of this, but this would be the next best thing to have. Okay, that's gonna do it for the showing, and I did want to mention something. 2 weeks ago I was out doing some shopping, and I went to an antique mall, and this is in Chandler, Arizona, which is just east of Phoenix, just on the other side of Tempe. And I was walking around the store, and I walked right by this guy, and it was Alice Cooper, and he was there by himself, and he had like this little shopping cart, you know, like those little mini shopping carts that you push around, and he was just there doing some shopping. He appeared to be there by himself, and I said, "Hey Alice, Merry Christmas," and he said, "Thank you." And you know, I didn't really say too much. I didn't want to bother him. I didn't want to talk to him. But I actually had met him before, about 2003, around that time. I was at a Phoenix flea market, antique flea market, and he was there shopping. I ran into him then too, and that day I did get an autograph. But man, it was so cool to run into him again. He's a nice guy. So yeah, I didn't want to bug him, but good to see Alice. And then last weekend they did Alice Cooper's Christmas Pudding here in Phoenix. And the original Alice Cooper group reunited for that for about 4 songs. The surviving members, all the surviving members. Glenn Buxton passed away, but and they actually Johnny Depp was there jamming with them too. So that video is online. You can check it out. And nice quality video of that, just crystal clear. So you can check that out. And yeah, I never got to any of the Alice Cooper Christmas Pudding benefit concerts. He has one here every year, and I've never gone to any. Maybe I'll do next year. But I talked to a guy at work, and he said he got there at 7:30 and he didn't get out of there till 12:30. So it was 5 hours long. So that's a long time. But anyway, I hope everybody has a nice Christmas, and I'm shooting for a video on New Year's Day, and it'll be like a top 10 finds of 2019 type of thing. So until then, everybody, take care, and catch you next time.